But my name is Jacob Redding. Um, as was just mentioned, I'm teaching the upcoming micro course on workflows and infrastructure, as well as the production of decentralized and distributed software. My background is I am a network and system administrator and a technical architect, but I mainly run software development teams. And currently my role professionally is I work for Accenture, which is a very large systems integrator and consulting company. We're about 500,000 people worldwide. And I am in a small group of our open source leads globally. And I wear two hats. One, I focus on helping build our own internal open source culture strategy and getting Accenture as a whole to contribute to open source, create open source projects, and engage in the production of open source software. And on the flip side, I work with our clients to help them create their open source strategy. So oftentimes we'll have like an enterprise company that has been developing software for years, and they're just trying to figure out, well, how do I get my software externally, and how do I get other people interested? Which is often around sort of like industry collaboration. So they're maybe a manufacturing firm, and they're trying to get their other manufacturing firms to collaborate on something that is not part of their core business. Perhaps it's part of the supply chain, perhaps it's sort of like logistics or tracking information. And they've been building the software custom for years, and now they want to sort of collaborate with their competitors on it. And though I do a lot of consulting around that, I do a lot of consulting on the open source strategy, as well as, how do you just get involved in existing projects that are out there? As for my background in open source, I've been a developer. So I mainly write Python and PHP. Those are my two preferred languages. I have a bit of JavaScript as well. And so some of my earlier projects are listed there in the first bullet points. There's an old CMS called Jetbox that I got involved with about, well, almost 20 years ago. And then another one, which is Gallery. It helped maintain image galleries online. There's been a number of JavaScript packages that I contribute to and connect with. Recently, they're generally all part of the data science world, data pipelines and such. But I spent the majority of my time in the Drupal open source project. And I got involved in Drupal in 2005 or 2006. It's been a long time. So I'm gonna go with 2006. And since that time, 14 years ago, Drupal was just a small open source project, a few people gathering every month just to talk about it. And now we're a little over 35,000 active developers every single year contributing. It's used on a few million different websites out there, and it's one of the largest open source CMSs out there. It runs many federal websites. It runs a lot of enterprise clients. It runs a lot of small to medium businesses. And it's the backend engine to a lot of websites. So it's been an interesting journey to be involved as a developer, because when I got involved with the project, I was simply a developer. I just built a module, collaborated on a few other modules, and put it out there. And then I started getting involved with, wait, we got to get people together. We have to connect people. We've been running these like meetups that would have 10 people, 30 people, then 100 people, then 300 people. Those turned into camps, which turned into conferences. And now we have 3,000, 3,500, 4,000 people showing up at conferences. And we need to, connect these people. And then it, grew from, Western Europe over to the United States, from the United States over to, Eastern Europe, and then into Asia. And now it's sort of worldwide. And we have people in the community from all over the world. So I got involved in leadership of that project, helped to create our nonprofit, the foundation that supports the project, became the first executive director there. And working with the founder, working with our technical steering committees, and working with a really big group of really wonderful people, we grew that project from a handful of developers to tens of thousands of developers, and a foundation from non-existence to now it's about a $5 million annual nonprofit that supports the project to help pay for that infrastructure, that behind the scenes stuff, Drupal.org, the disaster recovery, the repositories, the tooling, the issue queues, the security management system, the bug reporting, the documentation systems, all of those things. So I'm bringing that experience of working within Drupal and building that project up, as well as working with other projects where I've started to take that experience and work with some other projects and bringing that into workflows and infrastructure. So it'll be a little bit of mix of how do we run an open source project from sort of a non-company perspective as a community based, as well as bringing in my experience working with very large companies that have substantial financial resources and marrying these two. Like, how do you, if you're a company and you have also corporate restrictions, IT restrictions, how do you do that? And if you're a community that it's basically laissez-faire, like whatever you want to do, but you need to come up with some consensus, how do you bring these things together? So that's what I'll be doing in that course.